Section 4 is a breakdown of the Our Father. It just unpacks the Our Father. And so when you're sitting there, Father keeps talking about prayer. What is this whole prayer? I talk to God, and when I'm driving down the road and someone swerves at me, I kind of pray then. I do that. I go to Mass. I hear about Mass, I hear about the Rosary, I hear those things. What is all this? The faith community that I'm coming from, they just prayed spontaneously, off the cuff. You read that, and all those prayers I'm telling you about, they're in there. But go back to something I said a little bit ago. Everything that we say and everything that we do points to Christ. At the bottom of every page, and I know you all have the smaller version of the Catechism. It's the fonts are smaller, and sometimes some of the footnotes aren't as there as much. But if you just open up any section, open up your Catechism, and you're going to see down at the bottom these footnotes. Like for instance, this is not where you have to flip, but I flipped up to chapter, paragraph 1783. And I see at the bottom, I see PS 119-105. Psalm 119, verse 105. I see DH 14. That's a reference to a papal encyclical. I see Matthew 7:12. I see Luke 6:31. I see Tobit 4:15. All in the same footnote. 1 Corinthians 8:12. Romans 14:21. Gaudium et Spes 16. All these little footnotes down here. Now, so it's basically letting you know where some of these quotes are coming from. Letting you know how integrated the faith is. Letting you know that the doctrine of the church, that a doctrine, or let's talk, like a difficult moral teaching that we might be struggling with. It's not, we don't have what I would call silo doctrines. I grew up on a farm and we would have these silos. They would stand by themselves. None of what we teach as Catholics, none of what the church has taught through the years stands on its own. It's all integrated. And I've said it enough times, who does it point back to? Christ. If you go to the very back, and you go to the index, and you'll see well, let's go to the big one that we're doing today. Let's go to Christ. So go to the index. That's Christ. Might be under Jesus. Or might be under Christ, like I said originally. Yes. So if you just go to the index, Christ, you will see all of these references. Now remember I told you there's 4 parts to the Catechism? There's the Creed, what we believe. The Sacraments, how we celebrate. The third one is the moral life, how we live. And the fourth one is prayer. If you look at the index, just under Christ, you will see that there are references that are all over this catechism. So what that's trying to show you is everything that's in here relates to and points back to Christ. I'm not going to have you all do it now, but here's an exercise that I once did. Just pick a teaching of the church. And it might be one of those difficult moral topics that we all deal with today. And go ahead and read it. So look it up in the index, read it, what it says in the catechism, and then follow the footnotes. follow the cross references. I call it catechism roulette because it's interesting where that will take you. So maybe it's a teaching on marriage. And you go to it. And I'm not going to tell you, it's kind of like, how many licks does it take to, eat a 50-year-old? Okay? I don't know how many it is, but more than likely you're going to end up in the life of Christ pretty quickly. Okay? It's just what's going to happen. So you're going to see those cross references. Now, remember, there's 4 parts to the catechism that relate to Acts chapter 2, verse 42. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, fellowship, to the breaking of the bread, and to the prayers. They're integrated. They all point back to Christ. Page numbers in church documents are useless because it depends on the publisher. Page numbers in a Bible are useless because it depends on the publisher. As you're learning to read through the Bible, or as you're teaching your children to read through the Bible, don't reference page numbers. It's just not. Just don't do it. Okay, so after all that, let's flip to section 457 in the Catechism. I'm sorry, paragraph number 457. No one can ask for page numbers. So when I talked about pick a doctrine, pick a teaching of the church, and you're going to probably end up at Christ really quickly, more than likely you're going to end up at one of these 4 paragraphs very quickly. So I wanted to share with you the why. The why Jesus. Why did the Word become flesh? Why is this so important? And just as an aside, I know that you guys have conversation and dialogue. And I told Kathy as I was preparing for this, I said, there's a lot here. Obviously, it's the life of Christ. It's a core tenet of our faith. So I knew that I was going to dialogue or share with you all more. So I will stay and answer questions, and we can talk some. But I just felt like some of these topics that we were addressing today were really important for you all. So 457, why did the Word become flesh? 4 reasons why. And I will tell you, if you integrate these into your life, it'll have a profound effect in your spiritual life. One of these I'm going to share. How many of you have already been to Mass this week? Okay. Some of you are still yet to go. At the concluding prayer today, I know by then you're kind of like checking out already, but at the concluding prayer of Mass, it's the communion prayer, not the concluding prayer, the communion prayer. I want you to pay special attention to it in light of what I'm going to share with you. Because you're going to be like, oh, I get it. That sounds familiar. So why did the Word become flesh? Paragraph 457. The Word became flesh for us in order to save us by reconciling us with God. The Lord and the Savior of the world loved you so much that He came into the world as a baby, and to be later crucified on a cross, and to die an excruciating death, to reconcile us to God. Right there's a verse from St. Gregory of Nyssa. Don't know much about St. Gregory of Nyssa, but he's probably a whole lot smarter than me. Sick, our nature demanded to be healed. Fallen, to be raised up. Dead, to rise again. We had lost the possession